The next part did have a title. Recovery. It was written on a plain white background. I could hear DW screaming, like when Arthur punched her. Before the episode started up, the family was at home. It seemed a continuation of the previous part. DW was in her room, solemnly playing with her dolls. The parents were reminiscing over pictures, and Arthur was in his room. When Pal came in and started barking at him, wanting to play, Arthur got up and kicked the dog. He kept kicking him, the soundtrack now consisting of Pal's yelps, before slamming the door shut. Kate started crying. Arthur gritted his teeth and the scene faded out. The next scene showed that it was a night time as Arthur crept out of his room, with his backpack on his shoulder. He walked past Pal, who whined and drew away, before grabbing his coat and sneaking out. He ran for a full 3 minutes, the streets all in shadow. There was music, very soft, normal happy music that we all knew from the show, that ended enough when he ran into the graveyard. He stopped at his grandma's grave, staring at it. There was an owl hooting sound and he started digging, crying out in the same pain as he did. His bare hands were soon slicked in dark red blood and he stopped, finding the coffin. He was crying now. The coffin opened and Arthur was inside it. His eyes were closed and his glasses were shattered. His family gathered around, staring down and crying. Kate was screaming and for whatever reason, DW threw Pal into the open grave. Although his body was unmoving, there was a still of him running. The screen went black and there was a low sound that rose to a high chatter. It was the Tibbles laughing. The grave started to spin in empty space, opening and Stanley appeared, spiraling down through the blackness. His head tore off and the cartoony organs from the episode where Arthur cut his knee started trailing out from the body. There was a series of loud thuds and it showed Arthur again, sitting there, in the sugar bowl. Buster was unmoving on the floor beside the booth, his eyes gone. The red sockets started to stream blood and Arthur screamed in rage. There were a few white flashes and it showed him in prison, wearing the black and white clothing the show always used, his face covered in the scars they showed on bad guys sometimes. His last words were louder than the other speech clips.
I killed them all. I beat out 8's brains and stabbed DW. I killed my dog. My parents ate prison, but I didn't do it. She did it. Thora did it. She made me kill them.
It went to the credits and it was the normal, cheery music. Stunned, I went to rewind the tape, to see if what I just saw was real or if it was just a dream. When I tried to rewind the video, the tape seized up, so I took the tape and opened it up. The film had split an inch from one reel all the way down to a few inches from the other one. Either I had just witnessed one of the worst things to ever be associated with a children's cartoon, or I'm just off my nut. I will never know. I remember it pretty well though, suggesting it was real. If this was made by some sick fuck as a joke, I give them a thumbs up on making something that seemed so real, like as if it actually part of the series. After all, the video had never cut out like it said on the tape. Unless it had on what had originally been recorded. But now I think of it, since the show always covers very real topics. Could this have been a real episode they only aired once? They did one on DW's bird dying but never one on abuse or anything. If it really was a real episode, and I almost hope it is. I'm intrigued and I really want to see it again, to prove to myself I'm not going mad.